think you have a lot to say about the Book of Boba Fett episode.
You have a lot
3.
to say.
I do too. I do too. It was interesting to say the least.
I didn't realize because I had to watch it twice, right? Because I was setting up for everything, and I kind of lost the thread, and it was over. Which also will relate to my comments later. But yeah, I went through it twice. Yeah, I have thoughts. You have thoughts? What are your thoughts? What's your first
thoughts?
The Book of Boba Fett. This is a spoiler.
That's right. I'm about to get spoiled. I don't know. It was like 3 a.m. I was in a cedar fog, but my first reaction was, huh. It was, huh.
Yeah. So, okay. So just a quick recap of the episode. So Boba Fett is like, he's the mob boss leader with a conscience.
Crime boss with a conscience.
Right.
Yes.
And he's trying to do the right thing. It's not very Tony Soprano-esque.
No, and I think they brought that to a head because, the big question was, when did Boba Fett have this babyface turn to begin with? I mean, he was legendary for being basically almost looking like Darth Vader's right-hand man.
Yeah.
He was a heel. He was a straight-up heel. He
was the frozen in carbonite guy.
Yeah. I mean, he stole Han Solo's body, and he was going to send him to Jabba. So all of a sudden, when he came back during The Mandalorian, he beat the crap out of some stormtroopers, but someone who's just like, now I'm in debt to you now. Now I'm a babyface, and we're going to be a tag team, and we're going to work the circuit, and we're going to be bigger than the Rock and Roll Express. You're going to be the one that sells, and I'm going to get the hot tag.
Well, the way they booked it, I thought was solid as far as The Mandalorian goes, because he did have a babyface turn in The Mandalorian, and it was fine. But then at the end, in the post-credit, you got him go kill Bib Fortuna and take the thrones. It's like, oh no, he's not a babyface. He's still a heel.
Yeah, exactly. But then he came back, and then he's just like, but I'm kind of okay.
Yeah.
Should we kill the Gamorrean guards? Like, no, they work for me now. So,
yeah.
But then we saw in episode 2, he got once he won over the Tusken Raiders, he got the lizard up the nose was the gift, and he basically went on a vision quest. Fuck you, man. I ain't no Indian either. It's just some shit I made up in my head.
Did you see the size of that chicken?
But he was having some visions, and he went through, and I think that's when it was like, okay, that's when he had the babyface turn. But then you realize he's Boba Fett. He's for the working man. He's an underdog guy.
Yeah.
In a weird way, his character became big without any kind of like Vince McMahon money push behind it, right? He got big with hardly any lines and hardly any screen time. So I guess it makes sense in the real world, IRL, that he works for, he's for the underdogs.
I never would have gotten that indication. I mean, like I said, the way they worked him in Mandalorian was good. I thought it was fine. But I thought the payoff was the heel turn at the end. And now that we've got this Boba Fett who wants to be a crime boss for sure, but also for the people. I don't know. I just don't get it.
He's a crime boss with a heart.
He's a crime boss with a heart of gold.
Yeah, and I know, what? How do you say her name? Ming Yao character Fennec.
Ming-Na Wen?
Fennec, yeah.
Ming-Na?
When he's like, Fennec, alive. I just like the way he delivered that line, but she wants to go. She wants to see full heel Boba.
So is the through line of this show going to be that he takes a real heel turn at the end?
I think it's going to have to lead to that, right?
Otherwise, I just don't get where this is going at this point. Yeah.
I think everyone was, this episode had some very specific things that need to be called out. And when I'm talking about episode 3, if you haven't seen it, pause right here, go watch it, come back. Because like you said it earlier, this was the most Robert Rodriguez-like episode here.
Yes.
And to me, the two things that stood out to me, and I also, before we go, shout out to Den of Nerds Live and Star Wars Theory Live. Their watch-alongs. If you're up at 2 a.m., highly suggest that you watch with them. It's a fun experience. I actually like to listen to when Josh calls in and talks to Theory, and then I'll go back and watch on his video to watch both sides of the conversation, even though it's the same exact conversation. But they pick up on a lot of stuff, and they have a lot of people. I mean, it's like 3,000 people are in there. and you catch a lot of stuff that you miss. Like apparently there was a painting in Jabba's palace that had Boba Fett's picture in it, and I was like, really? I have to go back and watch that.
No, I didn't see that.
No, I didn't watch it either. Anyway, but yeah, they were catching some stuff, and there were some mixed reactions on this for sure. But the one thing that really stood out to me, well, two things: the Mean Motor Scooter Gang. The Mean Motor Scooter Gang was just like they were like a mix between like the Power Rangers, and they each had these really shiny bikes with looked like more like mopeds, all of different colors, all tricked out with like mirrors. And we find out later that they don't go very fast either.
So something went horribly wrong there. Look, I mean, it's fine. It's a choice. But it just seemed really jarring to have these beautifully. You've never seen anything in Star Wars that color.
Shiny.
Since the originals, I guess. And it just seemed way out of place. I dig the motorcycle gang, sure. And I thought the bionic arms and all that stuff, droid parts?
Oh, yeah, they rebuilt their human parts with droid parts.
Cool twist. I like that.
I did like that.
But I just thought the motorcycles were just too bright. They looked like, if you were in a 50s McDonald's or something like that, you know?
Yeah. That is definitely. If it had that moped, like you'd have that lifeless eyes guys that would stand in there and like really like hawking these bikes. But and then so they were supposed to be the heels, right? They're like, I got to go send a message. The guy who's basically hoarding all the, he's bullying the moisture farmers, which I think was Stephen Root, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. He's like, and he's in charge of all the water, but these punks, these hooligans, they're stealing my water. And then they're like, oh. He had a really thick accent, which I guess that was going back to the true essence of Star Wars, were the British accents. He's like, oh, mate, sorry, you should go see what he charges for the water. That's why we stole it. And then all of a sudden, Bo was like, oh, well, how much you charging for that? Oh, no, I'm going to charge this. You guys work for me now. And he just kind of took them under their wing, just like that.
So basically, it's like he's putting his crew together.
Yeah.
But it's not super dynamic. It's a little obvious.
No, I just didn't like those crew. I take that back. I liked the crew. I didn't like what they were riding. It just didn't work for me. It was a little too shiny.
It was, and Robert Rodriguez is known for action scenes.
Yeah.
And these were like, it's like they were riding the carousel at the carnival,
Yeah.
but not like the adult carousel,
No,
like the
not
one
the-
for kids where you can like ride like a rocket.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or Dumbo.
You ride Dumbo, or something like that.
Yeah, because they weren't very fast either, and that chase wasn't. And which is because I like that the mayor's, not his Diamo, but what's the number one Amayo, whatever term they use, that's his number one guy. I like that character. He's really sleazy. I feel like he kind of works.
Yeah.
So that car chase came off as really awkward, that it was just like it was slow. The second thing that really came off awkward to me was something that happened that everybody was already psyched for, was when BK, how do you say, Cartantian? The Black Wookiee.
Yeah.
He's badass. And they're like, oh man, I can't wait to see, when I saw him, they call him BK. When I saw him, I was like, I had a Grogu moment, like a Baby Yoda moment, like, whoa, that guy, I would instantly want, his action figure. I can't wait to see, this is okay, this has got to be the main event.
Yeah.
Boba Fett versus this guy. But we got it right away. He jumped him right out of his back to tank. He opened it up, and the fight was good. I mean, he was, when he was biting him, it was crunchy. And then, the motor scooter gang came in to help, and the Gamorrean guards came in to help, and it took everybody to take him down. But what was weird is Boba was fighting in his boxers.
Yeah.
He was fighting in his...
Did he get his spine snapped at some point?
It seemed like it did, right? Because he had him in a bear hug, and I swear I heard a crack. And I was like, oh, man, he's going to beat him that easy. But of course he's going to beat him that easy, because he's basically in that backed-up baby oil, in his boxers, so he can't even get him. So finally, the crew comes out, chases. He does a cool double spear, spears both of the Gamorrean guards down. They fall down the stairs. And they said this in Den of Nerds, so I'm totally stealing it. But then Boba comes down in this embroidered robe. Did you know that the Jabba's palace comes with robe and slippers? He came down running in the robe like a dad trying to find out, what are you kids doing down here? Why didn't he throw on his armor? Shouldn't he have put on his armor?
Yeah. No, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, he came down in his robe.
I was honestly just kind of taken back by the action sequences you were talking about, when what was the name of the Black Wookiee?
Oh, Black Krishanshin.
Black Krishansen.
Yeah.
Did you really enjoy that fight? I felt like the fight was super
too dark.
It was just stilted. And I'm wondering, like, he was just kind of standing there punching people off of him. You know what I mean? There wasn't a lot of camera movement, which I found strange, being that Robert Rodriguez being such a acclaimed action director, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if there is what we're seeing here is like the limitations of the
void, not the void. What do they call
the volume,
the volume,
the volume that they're using now. Is there certain limitations where you can't really move the camera traditionally as you were in a 360 kind of a set?
Oh, maybe you're right, because it did something seemed off about it. Like it seemed a little dark, and I wanted that fight to be. I wanted that moment to be Darth Maul. And I say this as most people hate Phantom Menace, but I loved all of them. The Disney trilogy. But anyway, I wanted that moment with Darth, like I wanted him to be right there. We're going to set up for an epic battle, and it seemed like it was a very enclosed battle.
Yeah.
And it was just like I feel like you couldn't get the full
There was not a lot of movement, and it just felt the same thing with the chase. Like they couldn't do much with the chase.
No.
And I'm wondering why. I don't know. Why is this so slow? And if it doesn't work, why is it in here? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Was this the first time they attempted to do a chase through town in the volume?
Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe it literally was a technology. Because I was just, remember in Phantom Menace when he's like, now this is pod racing. I was like, no, this is not pod racing. Because it was the same planet. Where you had the pod racing, remember? You just felt like the rocks were coming at like that top speed, and now you just had this like slow chase. But we should preface this that I still enjoyed the episode. It's still Star Wars. It still felt like Star Wars, but there was a lot of stuff that came very dangerously close to taking me out of the moment. Like shiny scooters and embroidered robes, and then. They capture BK in the fake, in the whatchamacallit. Oh, why is my brain slipping? What's the name of the creature?
The Rancor.
The Rancor, yeah. They got him in the Rancor pit. And it's like, wouldn't you keep him? And they're like, no, we're going to give him back. And then like, you're free to go. And then it kind of gets into, it's like, wait, so technically if you spared his life, but you didn't save his life, is he now entitled to call a life debt? Because we know Wookiees have life debts, right? They had that with Han Solo and Chewbacca. Since he spared his life.
He didn't say so.
Yeah, he just split. And they're
he just kind of ran away.
Yeah, he kind of because the Hutts were like, never mind, you can have it. We're leaving.
Keep the Wookiee. We don't want it.
Yeah, here's a cool Rancor for you. We're splitting.
Here's a Rancor. And then who brings the Rancor? Now you know it's Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, exactly.
Freaking Danny Trejo.
Now
I'm glad Machete went to space.
Yes.
But
finally, Machete went to space.
Like, here's the thing. There's been other stars, right? Or other cameos that have come through.
Yeah.
I guess why not hide Danny Trejo? Like, I don't understand, you know what I mean? He is like iconic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That level and his appearance. I mean, excuse me. Maybe like 20 years ago or something like that, you would have put him in and it would have been like, oh, it's that guy. But now he's Danny Trejo. He's a meme. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
He's more than just an actor. He's an actor. He reached that. So that just immediately breaks the reality right there.
Yeah, he should have got a bigger push.
Not that I think he shouldn't be in it, but put a fucking mask on him or whatever. Like, do the Star Wars thing that you normally do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like Jennifer Beals, right?
Exactly. Put a hat on
She
him.
had a huge reaction, even though it wasn't 100% clear that it was her, right? And it could be argued that Danny Trejo is more known currently than Jennifer Beals.
100%.
So... yeah, I do like that he is the Rancor training, and this is a little bit of a deep cut for anybody.
Put a fucking weird nose on him or something, right? Like a pig nose or whatever.
Yeah,
that's enough. You don't have to go overboard.
Yeah,
I'm sure you can do that digitally.
Yeah, and should Danny Trejo be insulted? It's like, shouldn't I put on some makeup or something?
No, you're from Planet Mexico.
From Planet Mexico.
But like, it's Robert, right? So it's like his friend. He just brought him on. It's cool. Of course, it's like his tradition, and that's fine. I just think he needed a gimmick. He needed something.
Yeah, I mean, you're on
Give him
Tatooine.
the tube fucking head or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. And you're on Tatooine, which does seem to have like the most of all the exotic different species of humanoids out there that you would think that he would do, especially a Rancor trainer. But it did, like I said, it could be turned into be a more important role than we even expected, right? Because if you didn't watch the Bad Batch, you didn't realize, when, and I think they even called him just Rancor training. His character didn't even have a name. He's like, they're actually very emotional creatures, and they will imprint to the first human that they see. And they started giving this thing that we grew up watching in Return of the Jedi as something that we just thought was going to kill Luke Skywalker. They were kind of giving it a heart, and then I started liking it to like, oh, so they're trying to really push these Rancors as like pit bulls that like they're only as dangerous as the people who train them. Because hands down, they set up for it. Boba Fett is going to ride a Rancor, and we're going to see that. And it's like something that's straight out of Robot Chicken. Like, he's so badass. He's going to ride a Rancor like a horse.
Wait, does a Rancor walk on two legs? Hey, say what up to JJ. He's here.
JJ, what's up?
Does a Rancor walk on two legs or four legs?
I think he can do both.
Because that's going to look weird if he's just
Sitting
giving
on
him a
his-
piggyback ride or something like that.
just sitting on his shoulder, right?
Here's another thing that I gotta put this theory out there. It's conspiracy land. Robert Rodriguez was booked to direct, and that's great for him. But what is Robert Rodriguez most known for? What is his call to fame?
Well, what we would say, and what I guess for mass marketing, people would say Spy Kids, right?
But how did he
But
first?
we would know him from Desperado, right? Like low budget.
But what's Robert Rodriguez's gimmick? It's making low budget, fast turnaround indie stuff looked cooler
Yeah.
than it is, right? He was the guy who did the $7,000 action movie and it
Right.
got over huge, right? Then he did Desperado, which was also not huge budgeted. But anyway, then he became the guy who invented Spy Kids and had his own studio, his own green screen studio, right? He was
Yeah.
doing all that stuff before. So I think that this show, I mean, consider we only heard about it last Christmas,
Yeah.
right? Last Christmas was when we first heard about it. That's a year to turn around that show.
Right.
That's a fast turn for that. That's not a film even. That's like, 5 or 6 hours of TV. I don't even know how long it's going to be the end. But anyway, I feel like they booked Robert because he's the fast turnaround action guy.
Yeah. No, that
And I
makes
think
sense.
that's what they're trying to do here.
Yeah, that tracks. That totally tracks. That makes sense because it is a fast turnaround because it was like a year. And they got, I think he directed the first 3 episodes, clearly. I don't know if he's directing all of them.
Yeah.
But he did these first 3 for sure. So you might be right. And maybe we ran into the limitations.
I feel like that could be part of it. I don't know. Here's the motor scooters. Somebody should have popped a wheelie. That would have been good.
Yeah, that would have helped.
That would have helped a little.
Yeah, because it was kind of weird because it had a flat bottom, so I thought they were literally gonna squish them, like when it went on there. Star Wars Theory guys, last night when they were watching, they're like, why didn't they make it look more like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome? They had that kind of look for a street gang rather than just like, teased out hairspray and.
I didn't mind the gang so much, but when they had the motorcycles, it's like that's too much.
Yeah, and we saw
You
that
overcorrected way too much.
We saw the Anchorhead. We saw that badass gang. The Moisture Pirates or whatever they called them, the Sand Riders, right? They're the ones and they're the ones R.I.P. to all the Tuscans. The Sand Riders are actually the ones that took them out. So we saw a badass bike gang. So I don't know if you saw them on paper, would you bet on the half kid, half droid versus the badass? What I think they actually said their name. They're the ones that were spray painting that logo.
I can't remember.
Yeah, but their name were anyway. They looked badass more. They look more so badass.
The motorcycles were just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like the more I think about it, it's just like they looked like a 50s car.
Yeah, it just
or
didn't
something.
work. I mean,
Yeah.
and plus you think of even Return of the Jedi was 1983 when they were riding those things on the forest moon of Endor. Those things were fast. At least they looked fast. You did the whole push forward. Well, I mean, Boba Fett, they were riding him when they were riding next to the speed train last week.
Yeah, but you got the dude. What was the name of the dude that was trying to escape? He's in the car acting like he's driving fast. He's like miming the whole thing, doing big turns like it's a huge deal, and he's literally going 10 miles an hour.
Honestly, I just couldn't tell because it was 3:00 in the morning, and I thought, man, I'm really tired. This Cedar's really getting, because this seems like it's going really slow. That's a slow race. Like, I feel like somebody could have ran up next to him and caught him.
Yeah.
But there was fun stuff in there too. I don't want it to make it seem like this is something that we're just really pointing out the stuff that didn't work. I did enjoy that protocol droid that just dropped the equivalent of a Star Wars F-bomb, right? Like, he almost got ran over, and he's like, "Voodoo," and like, I was like, oh, he was cursing. That's kind of cool.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it needs a second viewing for sure, and I'm curious how the second viewing is going to go. Did you get emotional with the end of the Tuscans? We knew that the Tuscans had to end somehow because he wasn't with them when we caught up to current time when he went to get his armor back. Because it's still in the flashbacks, he's still not interested in getting his armor back. Right? Now we just got to the point where he was one of the Tuscans. He went to go collect money from the Pikes. The Pikes like, we can't really double pay. We're already paying the Sand Riders, and the Pikes were pretty much, you know what I mean? We can only pay one. You know what I mean? So he's basically saying whoever takes the other one out wins.
Yeah, but like, here's the thing. They were just all killed off screen, and he just walks in and they're all dead.
Yeah, they were all gone.
To me, that sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks. It's like, what about that really cool, the one that was training him, the female?
Yeah.
It's like, why not? She doesn't get a death scene or anything like that. Like, they're just all dead.
Well, supposedly she's still alive. That's the internet rumor right now, that they're going by the Hollywood rule that if you did not see the death, they are not dead. And supposedly she is still alive. That the Warrior's still, like, yeah, I would have liked to seen a Warrior death, because as badass as that bike gang looked compared to the Mean Motor Scooters, they were nothing compared to the Tusken Raiders. And I feel like the Tusken Raiders would have handed them their asses, so I would have liked to have seen that fight. So I'm not entirely sure what happened. So that was a little bit of a bummer that happened off screen. This one, again, this was probably out of
Why the fuck do those bikes look like Earth bikes? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know, man. I don't know. That was definitely the embroidered robes and Mean Motor Scooters. I don't get it. Like, I feel like they look more like an accordion or something, or like, I feel
they're
like
hipster. They're like hip. Wait, no, I guess hipsters is not even a thing. But they're using these bikes ironically.
Yeah, I feel like if we would have watched the bike drive away, I was waiting for the Jetsons noise, the and bubbles to come out of the tailpipe.
Jetson!
I think that's what I was expecting. So, anyway, I'd like to say that. Are you listening, Disney? That's right. You got to hear. We got things. We have a thing here. Oh, will it work? Can I become a piece of bread and tell Disney how to make some bread?
I don't have it set up. I told you.
He turned it off.
Hold on. Yeah, because it fights everything.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know if it would have worked anyway. But Disney, yeah. Listen up.
Oh, it doesn't work with the mask. We're gonna do a full bread episode coming up.
Yeah, full bread as bread coming up.
Something with come up with a pun. Something with carbs in the title.
Yes, carbs and how to make cash.
This will all make sense later.
Carbs. 1-800 Carbs for Kids. You don't hear. Oh, that's an up north thing. Do you hear Carbs for Kids here?
Cars for Kids?
1-800 Cars for Kids. That jingle that gets in everyone's head.
No.
Oh yeah, 1-800 Cars for Kids.
Why Cars for Kids?
If you have an old car, you can give it to this place, and then they give kids money.
Growing up in the Northeast, did you have like little kids that drove cars?
No, I don't know.
Was that not like a thing? Because like down in the valley, like kids are like 10 years old, they're driving a car.
They're already driving. No.
Yeah, like driving like everywhere. I'm not talking like driving in the driveway. Like, go to the airport and pick up your aunt. It's true. It's like a thing. I wonder, is that just a valley thing?
That might have been that totally might just have been a valley thing for sure. But
JJ's from the valley. When did you start driving?
Oh yes, yeah, JJ. When did you get your? Well, no, I guess not when you got your license. When did you actually start driving? Yep, he can attest to this.
Anyway, Book of Boba Fett, fine. We're gonna keep watching. It's
I mean, it's.
But I want to give a positive spin though, because I'm not just here to bury it, but like, we're
12. JJ was 12 when he drove.
Late bloomer. But like, here's one thing that I think is different is we need to understand is like, we were for a while there. I mean, once the like, if you average it somehow, we were getting like 2 hours of Star Wars every 10 years, basically.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? And then for a while, the last 10 years, we got 2.5 hours of Star Wars every 3 years or something like that. Now we're getting like 8 hours of Star Wars a year.
Yeah.
It's a big jump. So there's going to have to be room for other stuff in there. Everything is not going to fit directly into canon or what, not just canon, but maybe stylistically, they're going to have to take chances. They're going to have to change things up. They want to sell toys. Maybe kids will want a 50s motorbike. Probably not, but you're going to try some other stuff.
I would 100% get one IRL. Like, I don't want to see it in Star Wars, but I would ride one.
Yeah. It would have been crazy if they like had like leather jackets and stuff and like greased back hair,
Do-dum, do-dum.
switchblades, some sort of like
a comb.
droid switchblade.
Did you have Sha Na Na down here, or was that another Central Islip only show?
No, I remember Sha Na Na when I was real young
Yeah, okay.
with Bowser.
Yeah, with Bowser, that's what I was thinking. But yeah, no, we have to give it a positive spin. We're happy. I know it's going to be Disney. I saw a term going around, and I was like, damn, that's catchy, but I don't like it at the same time. They were calling Boba Fett Beta Fett, and I don't like it.
What does that mean?
Beta Fett, that he's just like, he's beta. He's not alpha like he used to be.
Oh yeah.
And-
Well, the thing is, Disney is trying to turn them babyface so they can sell toys to kids, to little kids.
Right.
But why wouldn't they want? I guess do little kids not want the bad guy? I don't know.
No, I mean, no little kids had any problems with him before, so I don't see why that would change.
Yeah, unless you choked on that missile.
Yeah. I'd like to get my hands on that missile. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just they're going to put a little bit of a Disney spin on it, but I still have 100% faith in Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, and even Robert Rodriguez, because man, that episode, the Boba Fett episode from The Mandalorian was one of the best ones, and that got so much buzz. And he felt like at that episode almost like saved Star Wars after getting so much backlash from the Disney trilogy.
There is, I think there's some chatter on the internet about whether or not this is like sort of a last minute kind of thing, because they did this before a new season of Mandalorian, which I feel like doesn't make sense, you know? So I wonder if this was some sort of last minute thrown together kind of thing. Like maybe they were going to, because they're still saying that there's like, you heard all those rumors about Pedro Pascal having issues about wearing the mask and stuff like that.
I remember that, yep.
Which is wild because in this one, he never wears a mask.
Yeah, he does.
Like he's maskless all the time. So it's like, this is going on. So I don't know. I wonder if this may be suffering from a little bit like rushed into production kind of syndrome, you know what I mean?
Maybe.
And I think that they have a lot of freedom now with the way they do things with the volume, and they write things on the fly. And I was thinking this too, their faces are covered a lot. So when you're in that sense, you can always rewrite the dialogue later. You know what I mean? You can add dialogue later, like whatever you want it to be. So you can like go faster, shoot them with the masks on, and cut around it. And who better to do that than Robert Rodriguez?
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I'm also from the school that I am not going to really fully judge something until this one. You have to see all the episodes. You can't base it on one thing, because we just came off the second episode, which everybody loved, and the first one it was people were like, oh, but the second one everybody loved. So you got to see the whole piece before we do it. We were just for fun.
It's fine. This is the fun part about weekly TV. We can dog one episode, we can bury one episode, we can put one over. That's it. That's how it goes. I mean, they're not all winners, and because we pay our subscription, we can give our opinions on the internet.
Yep, but we'll be there for all of them. It's definitely not channel changing heat at all. Like, especially you're not going to. We waited a long time, especially some of us that have been waiting for this since 1983. The Patton Oswalt, was that not eerie? Did you see that whole thing? That his episode.
I mean, it's the only way it could have started.
Yeah, yeah. I guess.
I do get. Yeah,
but definitely. Did you see it when he was talking and they showed it side by side?
No, I didn't see that one.
Oh wow! I mean, it was like eerie on how it's spot on it was. So they were wondering if Robert kind of did that as a nod, but it didn't go down exactly like that in the comics, but that comics are legends now. They're not canon. So, but I still enjoy it. I love Tamora Morrison. I love that it came back. I'm one of the few that loved the prequel trilogies always.
Everybody loves prequel trilogies now.
Now I feel like they do, but back I was one of the ones that loved it back then. I remember somebody came in out so furious, like, yeah, that guy that looks so badass, the red guy, and it's just like, do something, step on a bug, do something. You didn't do anything. And I was like, I like the subtleties. I like the hidden spirituality in it more so than just like you said. I'm not necessarily in Star Wars for the wars.
Now that you mention it, you mentioned the prequel trilogy. Those motorcycles are something out of the prequel trilogy.
Oh, 100%.
You think that was intentional? Maybe that was their thought. They were like, yeah, these are left over from the prequels because they're vintage, classic kind of looking bikes.
Yeah, maybe that was their equivalent of like I got this old '50s Chevy that I fixed up, so it could have been that. Absolutely.
Maybe George Lucas was on set and just like giving notes. He's like, what if the bikes were like 50s bikes?
Right? Yeah, it's like, I made this other movie. You may have seen it.
Put like flames on them and, fenders.
Maybe that's the nod to American Graffiti. I don't know. Yeah, JJ said the same thing. The prequels got so much heat until the sequel trilogy, the Disney. But here's the question, and I think I know the answer to this. The prequel trilogy stood the test of time because of the essence of what was behind there. Not necessarily the clunky dialogue or the storytelling. It's just like the essence of the story. Is the sequel trilogy going to get that too? Because I've said this before. I have my heel Star Wars shirt when I wear The Last Jedi, which a lot of people say is the worst of the bunch, which, no, it's Rise of Skywalker. But there's a lot of good elements in The Last Jedi, like strong elements that feel like George Lucas approved elements. And there's a lot of stuff that in there that is not approved. But to me, is the sequel trilogy going to have that same benefit that the prequels got?
No.
No.
The sequel trilogy sucks because Last Jedi is so bad. Now, had it actually answered and been a proper follow-up, not Last Jedi, what is it? Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker, yeah.
Rise of Skywalker is so terrible that it blew the whole thing up.
Yeah.
Like, they stuck the land. Like, if this was like a gymnastics type of thing, this is like when somebody's knee goes backwards, right? They blew it so bad that it ruined everything. It would have been fine had that one had been so awful.
Yeah, stuck the landing a
They
little more.
overcorrected so hard from Last Jedi, which they really didn't need to.
No.
Like, it got a lot of heat, but I mean, it's Star Wars. It's like the most argumentative thing on the internet.
Yeah.
It's why the internet was invented, so people could argue about Star Wars. But like, I think that those movies are just gonna like go away.
They're just gonna.
I gotta
fade.
be honest. Yeah.
Strong characters in it, but yeah, I mean, I think the casting was never the problem in that. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it definitely. A lot of people feel that about Game of Thrones, right? They didn't stick the landing, and it almost undid like 6 seasons of goodwill on 3 bad episodes. Because even the last season, the first 3 episodes weren't bad. It was the last couple of episodes they didn't stick the landing, and it undid all the other stories. Like, you feel like, oh my God, I wasted my time,
Yeah.
So I think you're right, and you're right. They didn't. He leaned too much on thinking that, and I don't know who made this decision, so I can't say he because I just said he, thinking J.J. Abrams. But they really were like, oh, don't worry, we'll just go with the nostalgia. The nostalgia will always work, and the Emperor will come back because everybody loves the Emperor, right? And it's just like, no, dude, you just basically if for people who believe in canon, you just undid what the Chosen One was chosen to do. And it was always argued of who was the Chosen One, but it didn't matter at that point if it was Luke or it was Anakin. The Chosen One was going to bring balance by taking, well, again, some people say it was for taking out Palpatine, and you just undid that. You undid his sacrifice.
Yeah. It was
Thinking that nostalgia would make people happy.
It was so bad that it destroyed the other 2 films. I think the other 2 films were perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine. Not mind blowing, but had they had a proper finish, it would have been a memorable trilogy that people would have liked to watch. And now everyone hates it.
Yeah. No, you're right. I agree. They could have kept that charm of just like, well, you know, it kind of did some stuff different. But I don't know. But then everybody loves Solo now. Like Solo is getting that. The Star Wars story that was kind of butchered a little bit, and they had the two directors, the Phil Lord, and I think they ended up doing Into the Spider-Verse. But I remember Ron Howard took over, and then it didn't do well in the box office, even though it was clearly profitable and it did fine. But now I feel like it's getting a second lease on life. And ironically enough, the biggest chatter that we're hearing for Book of Boba Fett is to get Kira back, you know, who turned out to be
Right.
the main
Yeah, I've heard
villain
that.
in Solo. And it's like, oh, okay, so it's enough that I feel like they can pull these elements that worked, similar to like what Marvel's doing with the Netflix shows. Like, look, whether you liked them or didn't like them, you clearly liked some of these characters and the actors playing them. Let's pull them over and do that. And I'd like to see that with Kira. And I would argue that there's other characters in the sequel trilogy that they could do that with, that they can possibly retrocon it and repair some of the characters. Now they cannot repair the story. The only way they're going to repair the story is to go full on nerd and get into Star Wars Rebels, the animated, where they had this thing called the World Between Worlds. And that's basically the Star Wars equivalent of time travel. And then you could create a separate timeline. And then you're getting into multiverse. And then you're going to have to really nerd it up, which it can be done. But I think time has to heal the wounds before they do that. Just keep making these series. Bring us Obi-Wan. Everybody wants to see Obi-Wan. More Ahsoka. Yes, bring her that. More Mandalorian. More Boba Fett. Bring us that before you try to repair that trilogy.
I don't think that's going to work. I think right now where Star Wars is going, it's retro. It's a retro steampunk, diesel punk kind of Western samurai in space thing.
Yeah.
Nobody's got a phone.
No phones.
That makes everything weird, right? Yeah. So like nobody's got a phone, there's no Google, so it's like things are going, you know, there's nobody, they don't even really have computers. Like they have nothing. So
No,
it's retro. It's a retro Western type of thing. And if you start putting time travel, I think it's going to just confuse the tone. I don't know. I don't see that coming in. You know, I do like Ahsoka. I think she brings magic. Okay, magic. We could maybe fit that in a little bit. That's cool. But like,
You think it works just because in the animated version it worked, but it might not work in live action as much.
not in this world that they're creating. You know what I
Right.
mean? I feel like this is a very grounded world. You know, it's everything is very rudimentary.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, yeah, JJ said Star Wars, MCU, into the multiverse. I think you're right, because what always was tough, and obviously it wasn't part of the plan. I mean, he made episode 4, 5, and 6 when the technology wasn't there. Then the technology was better between 99 and 2004 for episodes 1, 2, and 3, which made the time period that came before in the storyline made everything look actually more technologically advanced than the other one. So it almost had to be when the Emperor took over and the Empire took over that actually technology decreased and devolved. And like you said, now their computers look like Pong screens, and now they're running with the plans to the Death Star, even though they're flying it, but it looks like it's on a floppy disk. You know, where before, you know, R2 was able to just transmit it. So you're right. You're right. I can totally see that.
Yeah.
You know, that it's got to stay a little bit like retro looking, but they haven't done anything yet that made me not give up. But you know who said this and kind of predicted it, that this was going to happen?
Who?
Quentin Tarantino.
What did he say?
He predicted that this was going to happen. Like, remember, it was a big deal, right? That what year was that? Was that 2012 when they bought LucasArts? When Disney first bought
Sounds
it?
right. I'm not sure.
Around that
Google
age, and everybody was excited, except Quentin Tarantino. He's like, I don't give a shit. He goes, I don't want to see Disney Star Wars. I want to see George Lucas Star Wars. This Disney's not going to know what to do with that.
Yeah.
He kind of called. I was just like, he kind of called it, you know, because Kathleen Kennedy, you would have thought she would have, like, she was under the learning tree and that she would have brought a lot of that stuff over. But it's hiring these powerful filmmakers and these other creators that are actually fans, that are actually what's pushing it forward, not just the Imagineers at Disney. You're having to hire people that are fans. Like,
Well, we got Jon Favreau's Star Wars now instead of Kathleen Kennedy's Star Wars.
yeah, and I'll take that 10 times out of 10. Because we don't know what she actually did help with. And I'll even take, Robert Rodriguez, Mean Motor Scooters, with the shiny. I'll even take that over, because again, I'm not there for the wars. I'm there for the force. I'm there for I want to feel how that equates to what we're going through in real life and measuring, it binds us, it penetrates us. And I know people kind of freaked out with the metachlorians. But would that have been better when episode, 7, 8, and 9, the George Lucas treatment, he said he was going to get microbial and he was going to get into like the metachlorians and inside your body and how that worked. He was going to go in a completely different direction. I think it would have worked.
Yeah, I think it would have been fine. I just think George Lucas, I think things would have been a lot different. He should have not directed. That's the thing.
Yeah, that did
he should have
hurt
not
him.
directed. He should have hired directors to do it for him and explain to him what he wants and let them kind of do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's where he kind of went wrong.
I think
He's a creative producer. I mean, he's of course a very talented director, but his interests, if you look at his early career, is in abstract, artsy fartsy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the kind of director that he wanted to be. And I think even though he's talented, that's why he pulled off Star Wars. Should have got other guys to do the rest of them.
Right, and that's what he did with Empire, right, and Return of the Jedi, which originally was going to be Steven Spielberg,
David Lynch for a while.
Yeah, so that was his plan, and then he's like, well, why don't you just do it yourself? So and that just gave us some some clunky dialogue, and it gave some boxy performances and stuff, but again, the essence was so strong that it's able to stand the test of time like it has that and create this monster that we're still how many films like this really do stand, creating a universe like this?
Star Wars is the only American, fully American made intellectual property.
Right? I feel like that was just born out of a film. Like even MCU, they were born out of multiple
film IP.
multiple comic books and stuff, but just straight up coming from here's a film, and then everything came after that, and it dovetailed perfectly into merchandising and comic books and everything it can do. But anyway, we'll keep going on Book of Boba Fett. Keep going and see where it goes. I highly suggest watching it at 2 a.m. and find yourself a good watch along and strap in for the ride.
It is fun.
The only parts that I do have issues is when the show itself is actually running and you got the timer, and then you're watching the show. So I guess this is kind of like parallel play in the sandbox, right? I'm not supposed to look over at their reactions, or are you? Are you supposed to react when Star Wars Theory, when you look to him, it's just oh, what does he think of that? Oh, what does he think of that? Looking at his faces, because I do notice when I skip through, because I do want to hear what he has to say. I think he's an important voice.
Yeah.
I know he's gotten a lot of heat, but he is an important voice because he's one of us. That's where he started. He's just a fan, and I want to hear what he has to say, and he's very protective of the brand. So I always fast forward, but it's always awkward to on watching the show, and especially with him, he's not the YouTuber that is reactionary, that you're going to get the shots of his face. Usually he's just studying it.
Yeah.
It's okay. Where everyone else is ooh, ah, ooh.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean. I mean, I enjoy the watch alongs. If I'm up at 2 a.m., which I generally am, and I'll throw one on. But I will just have the volume up on the watch along, and I'll be trying to watch the show.
Oh, got it.
So I can hear them react.
Yeah, I tend to watch the show, then I go through the watch along, and then I fast forward to the part where everyone starts talking.
What a weird future, dystopian future we live in.
That you're watching along with all these people and not really any of them.
And you're not even doing it in real time. You're doing it after the fact. Yeah. It's not even live anymore.
It is very strange. So.